like, subscribe. Hi. Hey kids, today we have a funny one. Plus I get to take aim in a brand new community I haven't thought about in years. That's right, vegans. Before we begin this episode, I'd kindly like to ask that I see your hands at all times. Let's go.
Alice hates you, and he has herpes.
Yes, today the controversy began with a milk ad. Mommy milky, milky, warm milky mommy, milky milky, warm and tasty. Wait, that's not the right script. In all seriousness, I believe the culprit or villain of today's story is actually the Eat the Bugs community, which I don't think I've brought up on this channel either. Now, although highly similar to vegans, the Eat the Bugs community is not always vegan themselves, you know. Sometimes it's more about you eating the bugs than them. Moreover, of course, we also find the same loathsome personality characteristics that we find so frequently in our protagonists, such as being a little A-word.
I was on so much Ambien last night. I was on NyQuil, Aleve, you name it.
I'm a bit giddy, I'm a bit excited to cover this story because for the first time this year, it turns out that our guys are on the offensive. However, this time our guys are also milk farmers, but that's better than nothing. You've probably noticed over the last few years the plethora of plant-based alternatives for various meat and dairy products such as almond milk, fake meat, Burger King's famous Beyond Meat experiment, for example, which did not end well. Fun fact, did you know that vegan chicken nuggets were actually funded by the toilet industry? Yeah. What's important to note is that every single carton of almond milk that sits on a grocery store could have been a carton of real cow's milk. We were just simply shifting the burden of milk to almond farmers? Who even farms almonds? This is gonna be one of those things where I figure out it's just like slave orcas from Disney World or something. You guys remember that SeaWorld documentary? These are the reasons why God invented dark-haired women in breakfast food.
I'm a simple man. I like pretty dark-haired women and breakfast food. But this stock photo I bought at a framing store isn't real.
Now, before we get into the specifics of the situation, I have to get into the specifics of celebrity culture in America. You see, by the numbers, half of you here will be my age and older, and then the other half of you will be significantly younger than me. Now, I'll be the first to admit that most things that older people say about younger people and the differences between the generations is honestly just sour grapes and not having your own youth anymore. However, I do believe enough time has passed where there is actual real meaning and real difference in the life experience between a Zoomer and Millennial. The main one we're taking a look at today is the difference in the experience of celebrity culture.
Buckle up, buckaroo!
Sure, there are still celebrities now, and many Zoomers love probably more celebrities than we used to love when we were growing up. But as time has passed and as the content itself has become more and more niched down, what you see now is comparatively many different groups of insulated, smaller communities. Even if they're the most popular, by the way. If people like Hassan or Pokemon existed in 1996, and they probably existed, but you understand what I mean. If people like that existed in 1996, everyone would love them. Whereas nowadays, they just simply have the biggest group of weirdos. As such, I do believe that the marketing campaign itself has had to change in order to meet the new influencer-based market. Back then, it was truly a simpler time.
98% of us will die at some point in our lives.
The darkness is creeping towards you, whether you know it or not.
Prune candy.
Now, I spent all that preamble in order to explain the fact that for the majority of people between the ages of, I'd say, 25 to 35, we all grew up with pictures of, like, movie stars and athletes trying to hypnotize us into drinking milk. Now, without going full Jake Tran on you, I believe this is a holdover from a certain policy or group of policies pushed by the milk industry from a long time ago, like after the war long. Why, in fact, Aubrey Plaza herself probably went to a school that had a giant poster of Michael Phelps with a milk mustache. God, why did I sound like that? Hey guys, you ready to butt chug some Yu-Gi-Oh cards out behind the deck? Anyway, the main topic of this video is essentially a spoof video, a spoof ad that is real. It's paid for by the milk industry, first of all. So when I say real, I don't mean that tree milk is real. It's not. And essentially that fact is actually the main thesis. Ironically, of course, because this commercial is aimed at millennials. Right, we're on the same page here. Everybody gets it. Not even that big brain, not even that deep lore levels of intricacy. This isn't a Christopher Nolan movie.
I saw a tree and I asked myself, can I drink this? As it turns out, the answer is yes, if you make it into milk. Our wood milk is bottled right here in the forest, which locks in the flavors like oak, cherry, maple, and of course mahogany. And if you can't pick your favorite, that's okay, because they all taste like wood. A tree falls in the forest. Can you make milk out of it?
So of course there's a semi-confused outrage mob on the internet. I like this one. I'm so heartbroken, y'all. Aubrey Plaza out here doing ads for the dairy industry trying to make fun of plant milks by shilling wood milk. The desperation. Like, what desperation? She's giving more smug anime girl than desperate milk profiteer, if you ask me. I never trust a y'all on Twitter. Look at his bio. Wannabe country hick. Only real hicks know. Only a true blue-blooded townie would ever have a negative reaction to a brown-haired woman trying to sell you dairy products. You know, I was hyperbolically joking earlier, but it turns out they're actually calling her a dairy propagandist, which is awesome. Also, another lovely thing from this tweet is how they're doing that thing dummies do when they barely understand something, and when they finally figure it out, they assume it was actually a high-level ruse and a very tricky trick, a covert ad even. Kinda like how Violetta thinks heat nails and wood salt exist. Anyway, can't honestly tell if trolling are genuinely mad. It's just an excuse for them to show the benefits of dairy milk by using fake tree milk as a stand-in for genuinely nutritious plant-based milks to create a false comparison. Don't fall for this crap. Oat milk is great, and you can make it at home. If you've listened to anything I've said, then you should by now know that this guy would have typed 5 more paragraphs if it wasn't for the fact that he had so many goth girls on his nuts. So much so, in fact, that I decided to hear him out and figure out what the hell he was even talking about. Of course, doing so led me to this Forbes article. Embarrassing wood milk campaign shows why Congress must end forced farm advertising. To make a long story short, it appears as though in America, farmers who raise dairy cows must submit a portion of their earnings in order to help advertise the dairy products. And that's exactly when I stopped reading, folks, because you know who isn't going to give me any useful information about the life and times of the American farmer and working class in general? Forbes magazine and the Twitterati, that's who. In fact, you can basically trust that whatever they say is exactly false. Even if it's true, the lesson that people learned, and the lesson that people are going to learn for the rest of this year is a very nuanced one. It's not political, and in fact, it's barely even social. It's become very clear to me that in order to make it through this year, and long into the future in America at least, you're going to need to look at pictures of pretty 40-year-old women. Actually, speaking of, I've got to go look at the Mary Elizabeth Winstead thread. I'll be back.